Welcome back to another episode of the 3D Gens podcast. Going into week 5 of college football, week 4 of the NFL as Christian Watson scores a touchdown. Little recap on college football before we get in our picks. Not a great week, but not terrible. I went 2-3. Fuck UCLA. Utah's defense is legit, especially in Utah. Grayson goes 2-1, and then Jack also goes 2-1. The Notre Dame loss or push, I guess, kind of set that off. Luckily, it was a push, but that's hard to watch after 2 plays with only 10 players on the field happens. Moving straight in, top 5 plays of the week. Who wants to start it off?
I will, just because I'd like you guys to guess what my 5th play is, given recent history with my throwaway play in college football.
Colorado plus 21.5.
Colorado plus 21.5, and I hope to God that Southern California plays defense for 3 hours this whole season, and it's Saturday, and I hope they win 87-1. I don't care how they get one. I just want it to look ridiculous, just like that 6 next to 42 when Dan Lanning could have let the dogs loose and put 150 on them. But, yeah, it's worked so far. I'm 4 for 4, being on the wrong side, so I will continue to back them until it does not jinx them. So stay tuned for that. But per usual, my 5th play is Dion and his traveling band of TikTok influencers as they get their ass kicked one more time.
I have a play on this, so I'm not going to talk much, but we knew that was coming. Jack, your thoughts on that, and then also your 5th play of the week.
I have a play on it too, so I'll talk about it later with you. But my 5th play of the week, I'm going Michigan minus 17.5 at Nebraska. I mean, we already saw Jeff Sims early in the year be maybe the worst quarterback in the league, in college. I mean, hell, put one of us out there would probably do the same thing Jeff Sims is out there right now. Michigan is arguably one of the best teams, if not the best team, on paper and by a lot of viewers in the country. I just think, even regardless of this game being at home, I think it's not close. I think Jeff Sims maybe gets a touchdown, maybe. Michigan puts up 21, 28, maybe 35 in the first half and runs away with it at the end. Easy plays.
Yeah, fair. Michigan didn't look great versus Rutgers last week, but also it's just that's who Michigan is. They're gonna play to their competition sometimes, but Jeff Sims is bad. I mean, he's just bad, and Michigan's gonna probably dominate the offensive line. I don't hate that pick. You got any thoughts on that one, Grayson?
No, I'm with you. I would support that, honestly. Jeff Sims, wolf. I tried it. He let me down against Colorado. I have my theories on how that came to be, but it turns out he's just awful. It's sad to see he was actually showing promise. Georgia Tech was, just at Georgia Tech, so no one really realized it. But he has escaped Atlanta and has proven to be just as bad elsewhere. So, I think Matt Rule is safe, but if his next quarterback plays like that, potentially not.
Yeah. So my 5th play, I'm actually going against what I've been preaching all year, and I'm going to take Florida money line. At Kentucky, I think they're like plus 1. It's plus 1, so it's probably like under plus 110 right now. I could actually find out exactly here in a second, but Graham Mertz actually looked decent against Tennessee. Not amazing. They're
minus 105.
Minus 105. Okay. I still like it there. I think they're just a better team. I think that they're kind of hitting their stride outside of the Utah game, which was in Utah, and Utah's defense is legit. I mean, there's no question there. They've played well. I think they're just a better team, and I'm not necessarily shocked they're underdogs, but I think I read a tweet that this is one of the first times in a few years that a ranked team is not a favorite versus an unranked team. So I'm gonna go with the ranked Florida Gators this week.
Well, that kind of takes us into my 4th play because I have a play on this. So I, unlike you, don't have the money line, but I do like Florida at plus 1.5. Now, granted, like it's one of those numbers where like plus 1.5 might as well take the money line. I mean, if maybe tomorrow, I'll think about it. Maybe I take the money line. But I just think Florida, even if they're at Kentucky, I think Florida looks really good. They looked really good against Tennessee 2 weeks ago. Granted, they struggled against – didn't look great against Charlotte last weekend, but it's kind of that, trap game. Come off the hot win against Tennessee. Florida is one of those teams that seems to play up the competition. Graham Mertz does look better. This is – and if Florida wants to really compete potentially for a at least a New Year's Six Bowl, if not college football playoff, they got to win these games because their last about 4 or 5 games of the season is borderline impossible. Going Florida State, LSU, Georgia. So they have to win this game regardless. So, like I said, if you want to play it safe, go to the +1.5. If you really like it, just take the money line like Larry is.
Yeah. I've got Florida too. I'm a little more confident, so I'll wait to fully express it. But yeah, I'll be on the Gators plus the 1.5. Well, I can still get it.
Sweet. What's your fourth play, Grayson?
The fourth one is more just a coaching fade. And you may say, well, then why the hell are you betting on Jimbo Fisher? Because he's playing against Sam Pittman. He's got a hell of a quarterback. He's not anything close to SEC caliber as a head coach. We've seen it time and time again. -5.5. There's a little bit of trepidation, I think, around Connor Wegman and his injury. Jimbo said he's day-to-day. It sounded worse initially, but I think he may play. And if not, Max Johnson came in last week and continued the beatdown of Auburn. They won by 20-plus points maybe in a game I had A&M last weekend. So I'm confident with either quarterback. I don't think that either one will be the better quarterback in the game necessarily, but I think that there's discrepancies elsewhere on the roster that are going to add up. And I don't think Arkansas, even at home, can compete with the team in A&M that I think could be, I don't know if you can call them a dark horse because the SEC West is so wide open. Obviously, LSU and Alabama headline it, but there's certainly potential for a team outside of that duo like A&M, 2-string wins together and put a scare into one or both of those teams when they match up head-to-head. So, like Jack mentioned with Florida, this is one of those games if A&M wants to mean something this year nationally or even within the SEC, they have to win it. I think they can win it by a touchdown.
Yeah, I like that play. I do think Wegman is out. I think he's out for the season.
He's out for the year.
Did I read that wrong? Okay. All right. Yeah. So it'll be Max Johnson going forward then. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, like you said, though, he stepped in and he's got some games behind him from LSU. So it's not like it's a freshman quarterback coming in. He's talented. I think that they dropped the news later this afternoon. It was a right ankle or foot.
It's foot. It was yesterday.
Yeah, it's foot.
Yeah. So I like the play. I think Max Johnson is good. I like that you're fading Sam Pittman. I don't think KJ Jefferson is tough, but he can only do so much.
Exactly.
My fourth play, I'm going out west. I'm going to take Washington -10.5 in the first half. And this is definitely a play that I'm going to get in today because Arizona's quarterback is questionable. It's looking like he's probably not going to play, but it's possible that if he gets fully ruled out, we've talked about college football injuries all the time. You never know. If he gets fully ruled out, this number could jump. So it's 10.5. Washington's looked like one of the best teams in the nation. So it's hard not to take it here. I know Jack's been on them for 2 weeks straight, I believe. So I'm gonna
ride. You're gonna find out. Ride in the third week.
Yeah, I'm gonna take them. I'm just gonna take instead of 19.5. If their starting quarterback doesn't play, then obviously 19.5 is a nice number. But I like 10.5 in the first half. They come out and just smack them in the mouth.
Oh, well, again, I guess I'll take that in my third play because that's my third play. So unlike you, I think 19.5 is generous, and I'm actually going to might as well get it 9.5, might as well make it 20.5. I think Washington, this game's even close. We saw what Washington's done in and out to every opponent they face this year. One of the best offense, if not the best offense we've seen on paper, just from every football team. Consistently, Michael Penix is balling. Granted, no one else is up watching the games, but he is doing it with no eyes on him. But that will change, I think, here soon. I think, like I said, just take the 20.5, get better, get a little bit of the line there. 3 touchdowns should be easy. They've been outscoring their opponents by that average. So I think, if you're not as confident, take Larry's bet in the first half. But if you just are really riding Michael Penix in Washington, go along with ride the -20.5 alt spread, and hope for the best at midnight. So
Yeah, I mean, there's truly legs to the West Coast bias theory because, like you said, for example, last week Washington played Cal. It was like 45-10 at halftime. I went to sleep. I had a ticket on Washington, and I was like, Washington could not score the rest of this game. Cal will not cover. My Washington bet is fine. I'm going to bed because it was midnight Eastern. Penix already had probably 420 yards, and it was just kind of whatever score it ended up being. And it was a much more merciful second half than first half. But, I mean, Penix and this offense just rolling through the teams they should. Just something we haven't actually seen much of nationally. Some Big Ten teams kind of sputtering, SEC teams especially. And so it's encouraging to see, even if late into the night, there are true contenders out there handling business in September as we expect them to, even in a year as crazy as this. So honestly, I might take both. And just, at worst, I think I split those. If they start slow, maybe add a little bit live at halftime to the overall spread number, assuming it's closer to 2 touchdowns than 3 where it sits now. But I don't expect a different version of Washington than we've seen through the first month or so.
I will say it's also another play on this game. If you wanted to, it's almost at that key number that I was talking about last week. I think it was 66. Could have been 63. I think it was 66, though, that I was talking about. I played it last week in the Colorado game. I have another play coming up later. But it's at 65.
Yeah.
It's at 65.5 right now. So if that number jumps up, I mean, it's right at it. You might as well take it at 65.5. But pretty sure it's 12-2, maybe 13-2 on the season on totals over 66 right now. So it's almost at that key number too.
You just want to think that, like, Washington put up 42, 49, whatever, but is Arizona only going to score?
Yeah,
because Washington's defense is decent. So it's like I'm not worried about Washington's end covering the 65.5. I'm worried about Arizona's scoring at least 14 to maybe, or and that's what cost me my last week with the USC with the Oregon Colorado game. Is Oregon put their share and Colorado showed up and put up nothing. So love it.
Honestly, looking at the numbers, and Larry mentioned key numbers, so I started looking for it. If you same game tease this, push that total above 70, got Washington down to 13.5, that's pretty enticing, at least for me. I enjoy the same game teaser angle when the numbers are right. And I feel like, I'm getting through enough numbers to make it worth it. The minus 110, minus 120 juice on a 2-legger, wherever you can get that. So, yeah, I mean, we saw it with Cal last week. I think Cal and Arizona, not exactly worlds different. That total approached the number, but it didn't get to 70. It's because Washington took their foot off the gas because there was no gas pedal for Cal to put their foot on and try and even begin to catch up. So, it could be a Oregon, Colorado type thing where it's a bloodbath at halftime, and that's just kind of the end of the effective scoring threats from either team, just out of indifference, honestly. So I don't hate that under angle on the huge totals either.
Yeah, you can get the minus 13.5 and under 71.5 at plus 102 right now on FanDuel. So I went ahead and put that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the price as well. If you're in a state in this great country that is smart enough to allow you to do that, which I am not. So.
Well, Grayson, take us into your third play of the week.
Third play, speaking of bad teams, Vanderbilt. They play Mizzou. It's in Vanderbilt. I don't care if it's on the moon. Mizzou's going to win by 2 touchdowns. So the number sits currently at minus 13.5. And as I look on FanDuel, that's minus 105. It's always nice to take a bit away from that 10% hold that they tend to have on the spreads. So it's just that simple. Mizzou, in a pretty impressive win in my estimation against Kansas State, took some late field goal heroics from 61, which makes me jealous because I just watched Clemson live miss from 29. But that aside, I do think, again, Vanderbilt is bad. The stadium's not finished. The roster is in more pieces than that. And there's just not a lot to love about Vanderbilt, even as a sneaky home dog. I don't know about 14. I don't know about 14.5 either. I could see Pride coming into play late while Mizzou is already halfway onto the buses. So I feel really good about Mizzou. While you can get it 13.5 or maybe 13, who knows where public money pushes this. But, yeah, give me Eli Drinkowitz and Cook, if he's up for this one, at quarterback for Mizzou, to continue their undefeated start and win by 2 touchdowns Saturday.
I like that. It was on my short list for like the end of my plays. So probably will tail that with you. I think, like you said, Vandy's just in pieces. The transfer portal kind of ruined what they were building there last year. They weren't great, but they were better than what they were before. So I don't hate that play. Any thoughts there, Jack?
No, I didn't really look at that game.
Yeah, fair. My third play, Grayson might like this one. It's going to be Clemson and Syracuse under 53.5. I know Syracuse offense looks good, but they really haven't played anybody. I don't like formidable. Clemson's defense is amazing. I mean, outside of Duke, nobody scored over, I think, 24. Well, I guess Florida State. Sorry. I genuinely didn't mean to do that. But they shouldn't have. Offensively, they didn't.
They scored 17 on offense.
They shouldn't have scored. Clemson wins that game 9 times out of 10. I think they were the better team. They just lost the game. I heard that on the radio. I think it was Dusty Dovrak talking. Clemson is 2-2, but really they've lost. Not the fact that the other teams didn't do enough to win the game, but they've thrown the game more than the other teams won it. So I think their defense is going to step up. I think it's going to be a close battle. I don't hate the number at 53.5. I wish it was a little higher, but who knows? I guess Clemson's offense could find its stride and go off this week, but I'm hoping that they stay under 30 here because I don't see Syracuse going over to 24. No, I think it's at 23.5 for their team total. I almost took, but game total under 53.5 for me.
I mean, that from personal experience, that game always gets weird. We always play down to Syracuse wherever they may be below us. I mean, Dino Babers has been building a solid thing up there, but it's just wherever it is. I mean, 2017, we went up there and got smoked. It's just never a fun experience up there. Recent scores, though, as far as the total is concerned, looks like with this number previously under. So, I mean, for the past 5, just quick math looking at it, I've gone under in this matchup. It is at Syracuse. That's especially where we run into some issues. The offense is what it is. Cade's improving, but not at a rate fast enough to make up for just the dumbass things we do on a weekly basis that make us lose games or lead Charleston Southern by a touchdown at halftime at home. And, we can be 2 plays away every week, but if we end the year at 7-5, no one's going to care. Not that I think we're going to be stooping to that level, but I don't hate the under because, like you said, if our offense gets to 30, great. Syracuse damn well better not get to 20. Nate Wiggins in the back 4, a bit banged up, can be a game time call. And I'm not Martha Stewart, so I will not divulge any information there. But even if he does miss, we do have guys behind him that are more than capable of holding Syracuse in check. They're undefeated. That's great. Not exactly a gauntlet thus far. So I think will be their toughest test by far, and that'll show at least hopefully on our best side of the ball, which is defense. So I do like the under there.
Yeah. Jack, take us off. Second play of the week. And your opinion on the game if you have one.
Second play of the week. I don't have anything on that game. Didn't look at that game either. Clemson is can't play that anymore. Second play of the week. I'm a USC Colorado. I'm taking alt spread minus 27.5 USC at plus 148.
Racist.
I mean, I think it's set at 21.5. Oregon took that number and doubled it. USC, I think, is a better team with definitely a better quarterback. And granted, according to USC, they're going to Wyoming to play Colorado at the Yellowstone National Park.
That was all.
But I think Caleb Williams goes in there, and it's going to be a bloodbath. I mean, it might be that at half. I mean, Oregon showed it, and with something to prove. I don't know if Lincoln Riley feels the same way. We'll see. But Shiloh might not play. I mean, Travis Hunter's still out. The O-line, I'm pretty sure we could start on Colorado's O-line. I mean, if you want to be safe, take the 21.5. I mean, don't take the over. I think the over is 73.5. That's
it is. That's
ridiculous line that cost me last week. won't be touching that because Colorado ain't getting anywhere near that. But if you want to be ballsy, get that plus. Take the all up minus 27.5. Guarantee you it is.
Oh, he threw the guarantee word. Oh no. I just don't know if taking 6 more points and only getting plus 148 is enough for me to go that high.
Nah, it's worth
I'm there too.
Throw 5 units on it. 5 units on
If
it.
it's at the demise of Colorado, I'm just blanketly for it. But
Yeah.
the price does come into play at a certain point. I was curious about the total because Southern Cal obviously has an offense comparable to Oregon. I don't know if they do have the defense. So, I mean, 74 points is a ton, even in a game that's supposed to be a shootout like this. Do keep in mind they're playing at like 9 or 10 in the morning local time. So this is not noon down south on the field necessarily. Played San Jose State in the opener, gave up 28 points. That game cleared 80. They played Nevada the next week. That game landed on 80. 66 total on a blowout win over Stanford. They actually played defense. And then last week, a very non-convincing 42-28 win over Arizona State on the road, but doesn't change the fact that Arizona State's bad. And that defense just does not look convincing against even remotely lively offenses. And of course, that last total landed on 70, so that would have gotten you under. So they're capable of blowing teams out, but still that defense brings the total into play. But I mean, we can pretend Travis Hunter means a damn thing as far as the overall outcome of this game. Again, it was fun last week, I guess. But, you know, I think it ultimately will stay under, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar score that Dan Lanning provided us with last week.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna play the under 73.5. It's over that key number, just betting trends. But the reason I'm kind of iffy is, like you said, USC's defense. It's just not. It's not Oregon's. I don't think Colorado's not going to score a touchdown this week. I think Colorado will probably get to 20, but possibly, and that's just out of. I mean, even
49-20 hits the 28, 27
but yeah,
and a half, baby.
even 49-20, like that's still 29 right there, and then it's under, but USC could put up 70 probably, especially without Travis Hunter and Shiloh. So I'm not going to touch that game personally. So that's just me there. Grayson, what's your second play of the week?
Last thing on this latest bloodbath of the expense of Colorado, the team totals are 48.5 and 24.5. So that's a large gap in between. And depending on what you think of USC's defense or their offense, there's opportunity to be had with that angle as well. But my second play, I will go back to the SEC. I alluded to it earlier. Florida plus 1.5. I don't necessarily think I'll need the 1.5. I've just seen absolutely nothing from Kentucky, even with the quarterback transfer from NC State, that would tell me that they're going to make any noise whatsoever in this conference. And I also have a reasonable belief in Florida, like I do A&M, that they could shake things up in the East potentially. They already dog-walked Tennessee because, I mean, they're not going to be the only ones to do that this year, but they did it. They got up for Napier. Tough loss to Utah in the opener, like you mentioned. Utah's number 10 in the country right now. So that's not exactly, you know, even without their star quarterback, Cam Rising.
And they didn't play Cam Rising, exactly.
Right. So that's not quality loss is the stupidest term that's ever come about in football, but if there ever was one, that's going to be it. So I think they really built off that. It didn't look great last week against Charlotte. I think one offensive touchdown, which is embarrassing. But that being said, they at least won it. I mean, that is not the inspiring thing you want to see. I think that does play a role into this line as well. I think this would have been more of a pick 'em, maybe Florida -1 had they shown anything impressive last week in a spot where they didn't need to necessarily, but it's nice for confidence and momentum going into the portion of the schedule where you don't get teams like Charlotte anymore. It's just all SEC from now until December. So I like them outright, but I've learned in football when you're given points to take them. So I will take the plus 1.5 with Florida as my second play.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think I might even up it to 1.5 unit play. I've hit 2 of those, so need to carry it over. But I think that's just the move. My second play, I know I said I had a Colorado play. I'm not going to take the under. I can't do it. I know it's 73.5. I just can't. So I'm pivoting for my second play. I really like this, especially when I seen the number. I was gonna play it and just not tweet it out, but Oregon team total over 43.5. They're playing Stanford. USC just put up 66, or not just, but they put up 66 on them. I think Oregon might have maybe a little bit of a hangover effect just from that. I don't even know, like big win, I guess. Like if you can call that against Colorado, but I mean there was a lot of emotion behind it, so they could start a little slow, but I think that Oregon can easily get to 45 here. Stanford's just bad. So when I seen that number, it made my eyes open up really big, and I think this is the best time to pivot and make that my second play of the week.
I don't hate it. I mean, I don't think Oregon does have a carryover. Like, I don't think they will be affected as much per se. Because I think Dan Lanning coaches his boys right up there. I think Oregon's just a solid team. I think arguably we could say they're the best team. I mean, the Pac-12 is really good this year, so maybe not, maybe Washington. But I mean, this is a Stanford team that gave up 30 points to Sacramento State. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but who? So I think that 43.5 is easy.
Yeah, I got a side play for this game as my number one play, but just in general, Stanford, you hate to focus in on one data point, but when that data point's a home loss to Sacramento fucking State, that's brutal. Southern Cal, as far as offenses are concerned, I think is a worthy peer of Oregon. So, not saying they're going to touch up near 70, but should they choose to, they very well could. I think if they were going to trip up and be distracted by external factors would have been last week before they curb stomped every kid that was stomping on their logo. So let that be a lesson to not do that if your team sucks. So
dude, Stanford has a tough schedule, dude. Holy nuts.
Yeah, they play Notre Dame every year too.
They go Oregon, then Colorado State, then they go Washington State, Oregon State, and then
Cal. I wonder they're going to the ACC.
At Notre Dame, and they finish at Notre Dame.
Yeah, they might not.
I can't wait till they beat Clemson in 2 years. But that being said, I might as well get out of the way while we're on this game. My top play is Oregon. It's minus 27.5. We've mentioned a couple of different reasons that would lead you to believe that Oregon's going to just pencil in whatever score they'd like to. They did it last week against a Colorado team that does have more talent than Stanford. I would still take David Shaw as a coach over Dion from now until eternity. Honestly, I don't care what Stanford's turned into. Stanford they went from a perennial powerhouse to the sleeper, the one that everybody tripped up with. If this game was at 10:30, I swear I would not bet Oregon just because they always lose games on the road in Pac-12 play at 2 a.m. But this one's a little bit earlier out on the West Coast, 6:30 here, 3:30 there. So no Pac-12 after dark to rear its ugly head and again be the stumbling block for an Oregon team that's had trouble with that in the past. I think they roll again. Like you said, Dan Lanning has his team focused. They realize that all you have to do is win these games, but you could definitely get some style points, something they may need should they lose heads up against Southern Cal or Washington and try and sneak in as a second Pac-12 playoff team, which just as a sentence in general sounds insane, but that's how talented the top of this conference is. They got 4 teams in the top 10, I think. I mean, it's and plus, I mean, it's the most quarterback deep conference in the country by a country mile. So a lot is ahead of Oregon, but I don't think they let that allow them to overlook a Stanford team, like I said, in the past has played spoiler to this Oregon team. But these rosters are just miles apart. So give me Oregon huge. I might take a couple different angles on this game. The total's 60. I'd probably lean under, but I doubt I'd mess with that on Saturday.
Yeah. I love that play. Oregon, like you said, in a class of their own. It's actually kind of sad to see Pac-12 being this good, especially with this much talent and it being the last year. I mean, even think about Oregon State and Washington State, who are being left out in Pac-2 now and possibly doing the relegation and promotion with Mountain West Conference. But Oregon State, they dropped out of the top 25, right?
They're 19, I think.
19.
Yeah, they're 19. Yeah.
I know that I was. Yeah, you're right. 19. I mean, they're still top 25 teams, and Oregon State just won 10 games last year, and they're getting screwed out over TV deals. So it's just crazy to think where this conference is now and how it's kind of disbanding. I love that play, but I'll move into my top play of the week. Backing Nick Saban here, Bama minus 7.5 first half. I think they come out and smack Mississippi State in the mouth. I think they're just beyond better. Mississippi State's defense is not great. They've been allowing 74% completion rate so far this season. So Jalen Milroe, who eased into it last week, could see some openings this week finally and get a little bit of confidence moving forward. I think Saban is kind of tired of everybody looking down on him this week, and or not this week, but in general. So I think they come out and try and smack Mississippi State in the mouth and prove a point. So I like Bama minus 7.5 first half.
Not a bad play. Didn't look at it, not gonna lie. My first play, I'm sticking with the boys down in Austin, a DKR top 25 matchup. Taking Texas minus 16.5, and I've thought about it. I'll update you guys on the weekend before the game. Might tease it to the over 61.5 as Kansas is averaging, I think, 34 a game. Granted, the Texas defense is the best defense they'll see in the last game that they have all season. So if you like that, I think I'll still think about it, but I still like Texas minus 16.5. I think Texas is, as much as a homer I'm trying not to be, on paper, Texas is one of the best teams in the country. If Quinn Ewers plays like he can, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, as seen by he's top 5 in Heisman, I think, in most places. And then like the offense, I mean, you have X, AD, and Jay with JT Sanders, and then Jonathan Brooks. I mean, it's just really hard to stop that offense with the offensive line that they have is insane. I mean, I saw a stat today that Jonathan Brooks has 35 less yards than Bijan did at this same time last year. And well, am I saying Jonathan Brooks is going to be Bijan? No, but it just says it's kind of, I think, a more word of the O line that we have. And Jay Brooks is still good, but I think the O line is just super solid. And I think Texas, I mean, at home, we play well at home every year. Hopefully, we don't have a bad first half like we get against Wyoming. That would really screw this spread. But if we can just play like we did against last week, we'll be fine. And that's my number one play.
I don't hate Texas this week, but I don't love it because this is such a Texas game to lose.
That's like, just the should spot they trip up in.
Yeah.
Against the Mount at least. I don't think they're going to lose. But
yeah,
17 and a half, that is just, these ranked conference games, I mean.
It just seems like so much against Kansas, who has one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the nation.
Can score. And they might not even earn the points. They could very well get them still.
Yeah.
I say that Texas might win 52-3.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, potential is there.
The ability to win, to put up however much they want, especially against Kansas's defense. It's just so hard. I understand
because I understand that this is the game for us to lose, and we lost this game 2 years ago. We did smoke them last year, but like people said, like I've heard on there's multiple Texas Longhorn stuff is like every Big 12 team we play this year, it's going to be their Super Bowl because it's our last year in it. Texas Tech already, started the beginning of the season. We're going to beat them. They're 1-3. So I mean, how is it before? I'm not sure. But I feel like Texas is in a good mindset now, and they also are treating every game like it's just another game, just a 1-0. They know what they're capable of. They know their path to the playoff is right there. All they got to beat is these ranked teams in the Big 12, and the rest is easy. We beat Bama. So go 12-0, win the Big 12, they're in the playoffs. They know what's ahead of them. They just got to play like they can.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, there's our top 5 plays for college football week 5.